I know we've only known each other for 4 weeks and 3 days, but to me, it seems like 9 weeks and 5 days.
Hey everybody, surprise for those of you who haven't been paying attention, not Enoch today, it's the J-Bot. So, on with our show. To welcome you all my passionate plant people and gardening enthusiasts, welcome to the Let's Get Growing show on the Urban Gardener channel. I'm Jay, aka the J-Bot, and I am your host today. We're going to have a great show today. As our featured guest, we will have Joe from Muddy Puddles Farm. And let's just get a picture of her for those of you who have not seen her before. This is Joe, and also stay tuned for Paul from Guten Gardening, who will have an In the Garden segment for all of us, and we look forward to seeing that. Just a reminder for those of you who haven't been involved with this for a while, we are looking for a roll call from some of you, and that would be a roll call letting us know that you're here, your name, what you've got growing on, where you're from, any information you'd like, just a quick little blurb, and we're going to highlight that a little bit later in the show. So that's going to be roll call, and that will be coming up a little bit later. And I'm just going to remind you right from the start to like, share, and subscribe. So like our show when you watch the videos or live streams, subscribe to our channel, and share it out with your friends. And I'm going to emphasize right now for the moment about the idea of sharing it out, because we're trying to grow our 3 shows, and I will go into that a little bit later in the week, but a little later in the show. But the short version is that we have moved into a 3-day gardening weekend. So that means that we are wanting to grow our audience for people to see us every Saturday and Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific or 2 p.m. Eastern. But we have added on to that to have Mondays, 5 p.m. Pacific or 8 p.m. Eastern, to have additional shows. And we are looking to see as many of you as possible on any of our shows. And just a reminder for those of you out there that we want to put a shout out to Team Replay. We are super glad to have you participate as you can. And a little bit later in our show, we're going to get you to drop your questions or comments in the chat. I am normally the person doing a lot of the functions for the chat, but we have some other friends helping us out today, and we so appreciate that. So that's going to be David, Shawnee, and Adam helping us out today. And we may feature your comments in the show. So that's one of the ways that you can join in the conversation with us today. You can also follow links in the description below to learn more about our guests, about our other collaborators, information about our other media. That's all happening in the video description below. And we'd like to thank you, any of you who are joining us after the stream, to let us know by leaving a comment and let us know what you've got growing on. So that can be people who've been with us live and comment, or it can be people there in the replay. And one more thing for you to know is that we are looking for direct donations. And again, in that video description, we have Cash App, Venmo, or PayPal, and all of those links are down there for us in that description. Okay, so those of you who have been familiar with our show before, I'm doing it a little bit different because I'm still working out my skill levels in terms of pushing all the buttons and doing all the prompts at the exact right time. But one of the things I'd like you to know about is kind of like what's growing on in my life regarding gardening. I'm sorry that I'm not very sophisticated about the video work because I do not own my own video channel and don't have most of the equipment for that. But I'd like to talk to you for a little bit about kind of what's going on here. I am in Canada, which means, oh, and here's my Canadian t-shirt. I'm a Canadian, and that means that we don't have a lot growing on unless you are doing some kind of indoor growing. And we have people here in the channel that are doing different elements of that. Generally speaking, it's a little bit too snowy, cold, and rough for us to be doing any of that kind of thing right now. So what I spend a lot of my effort doing is more what you'd call property maintenance, upkeeping. And in the wintertime, I am doing a tremendous amount of snow shoveling. So those of you who've been on the show before have heard me talk about it. But part of the reason I go on and on about the amount of snow shoveling I do is because I snow shovel so excessively. I spend a whole lot of time and effort at it. And that's because in Canada here, in my part of Canada, tremendous amount of snow, and there will be for a while. So I spend between 3.5 and 7 hours a day snow shoveling. You heard that right. Yes. And that's what I do out in the public. I clear paths, I clear buildings, I clear public buildings. And because I'm a little bit of an unusual person, I do it by dressing in costume. So for today, as an example, I was a Nordic moose today. On another day, I might be a kitty cat. A different day, I might be a pig. Another day, I might be a cosmic kitty. Who knows? But basically, the point is that with the wrong mindset, the gardening is a little bit of a repetitive chore, you might say. And I dress up in costume for my own amusement, but also to amuse the passersby. So the employees, the volunteers, the dog walkers, people with the grandkids and stuff like that get to see the different outfits. And people do notice what I'm wearing and say that it helps them with their day. So that's how I spend most of my time here in our pretty frigid winter. Some things that I have in mind to be upkeeping in the future is some of my seeds are a little bit old, but I am a very frugal person. So I'm going to be doing some germination seed testing to see how valid and good my seeds are. So that's something you can do in the winter. I also got some bales of straw, so I will be testing the straw because the straw that I have, it's questionable about whether they might have what they call aminopearlides, which basically is a big word for chemicals that could badly affect your garden. So before I actually technically apply those stored straw bales, I want to test those. And the way that you do that is another type of germination testing. Most people soak the straw, and then in that fluid, they use that to test a vulnerable crop. So in my case, I'm going to research this before because I've never done it, but I'm probably going to do peas and radishes and put them in pots and then use that soaked straw water to water them and just kind of see how they react. And what I'm trying to find out if there's some of these chemicals that may badly affect my soil, my plants, and I want to know that before I actually apply that. And if the straw is found to have issues, then I'll probably have those straw bales more stored away until they have more time so that stuff leaches out before I apply it on my garden. Other things that I can do, and I'm planning to do in the near future, is to get my indoor seeds starting more organized and ready, because some of the dates will be coming up for some of the stuff for my area, which is 6A. And also I'm looking at things like sprouting. I used to do that years ago, and seeing some of the videos and information from Shawnee Grows, who may be available in our chat. She did some sprouting and microgreens, and I have never done microgreens, so that would be an interesting way to kind of improve my my gardening. And then also recently, Robin Gardens and Shawnee did a video about 2 weeks ago regarding winter sowing, which again is another part of gardening that I've never done before. So currently not doing tons, but I am forward thinking about that. And regarding forward thinking is also the planning for next year, because some of the scheduling and planning that I may want to do to look at how and in what way I want to amend my soil when I'm going to do that. Currently under feet of snow, but eventually get to that. Any repairs or maintenance I want to do. I want to rebuild some beds, improve some garden fencing. I'll want to do that before I actually put the plants in. Seeds starting indoors, when and in what order I'm going to put things in. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that although I am snowed under in many respects, I am also looking optimistically at what I am able to grow indoors, new projects that I've never tried before, inspiration that I've had from other gardeners who are here within our community, and looking forward to all of it. I'm at the point where I'm not as tired from the gardening from before, but now starting to get inspired towards what is the potential I can do before I can actually get into my garden plots again. So that's kind of what I've got growing on. And I'm just going to give you guys one more reminder. Let's see if I can get this out here, is about the roll call. For those of you who are now in our chat, let us know your name, your location, maybe a little bit about what you've got growing on, so that that we can get some time a little bit later and talk to you about that. Great. Okay. So hopefully some of you have done that. I'm just going to connect up now and see who is available to us in the chat. And let's start from the beginning. Who showed up? Right from the beginning, we've got Mr. Botron, I guess, because he's helping us today. That would be Bowtie Life in the Garden, who is David. And he is saying, Triple G, greetings, global gardeners. Today is a very special show, a mutiny led by our friend, the J-Bot, at Jay Dixon at Ecology Today, and talking about and saying hi. So thanks for that, David. And let's see, we've got Heart's Humble Homestead. I saw you as a guest on Joe's show, and I'm glad that you came here to support her and to see our show. I think you've been here once or twice before, but we are super glad to see you here today. And here is Shawnee. Welcome to today's show with our chat facilitator. That is me. And she's explaining more or less what I have said and giving a link to Joe's show, which we deeply appreciate. We'll be doing Joe just a little bit later on, but I am glad that Shawnee is here. She has been a facilitator on our channel and also Gardener Scott. She is a contributor on this show. She is part of Grow What You Eat and does segments for Monday night along with Robin Gardens and Sow and Tear. And she also has her own channel. So busy lady, and we deeply appreciate all the support that she is giving us. And let's see who else is here. Oh, I'm going to do this just as a little bit of a joke. This is me. Hey, hi, me. Here's Bowtie speculating about whether I tied up Enoch with a networking cable and tied him down, etc., etc. No, this is a friendly takeover. I am giving Enoch a little bit of a break. He's had a super busy few months, and he's just having a little time off today. And so this is a friendly takeover this time. Okay. Let's see. And here's Kat's Tiny Wannabe Homestead. Hey, glad to see you here. And Tigger Travels, that would be David. Hey, how you doing? Or perhaps David's wife. And Starkey Properties. Hey, I don't think I've seen you here before. Glad that you're here today. Hope you stick around and enjoy our show. And Heart's Humble Homestead is letting us know that her name is Kirsty and she's from England, UK. So thanks for letting us know that. Great. And Farmer Marshall. Hey, we haven't seen you around for a while. Good to see you here. And we also have Sean the Gardener from Cornwall, England, UK. Glad to see you. Thanks for being here today. And we have Adam Burley. He's from Central Point, Oregon, usually just up the road from the host, except that today I'm the host, so he's quite some distance away. I will highlight this a little bit later, but Adam did a touching tribute. Yesterday, we had a part of our community, our greater gardening community pass on, Elaine Ingham, and he did a very touching tribute to her and talked about how she influenced him to become involved in soil science. So that was yesterday. And let's see. Back to Kat's Tiny Wannabe Homestead saying, hey, Jay, listening in from 5A in the Colorado Rockies at 8,000 feet. I'm getting set to set up seedlings, but enjoying little gem lettuce from my Aero garden and growing microgreens. Oh, nice. Good. Yes, as I said in the preamble, I'm considering those same things. So glad to hear that you're actually doing what's just in my mind. And we're seeing, whoops, John Jude here again. Hey, great. John Jude, hey Jay, 6A, Mid-Ohio. This is in my basement. I've got onions about 5 weeks ago and lettuce 4 inches tall. Wow, I am jealous. That is great. Oh, and here's the opposite. Rob's attic. Good day. Hope you all have a great day. Rob is actually doing most of his starts and things in the attic. So one person in the basement, another person in the attic. However you're growing your plants, glad to see that you are here. And we've got Rebel Truth 73. Howdy, I'm from southeastern Texas. We have garlic and onions and peas growing currently with carrots planted and waiting to sprout. Tomatoes and peppers are still in sprouting and growing inside. Wow, great. Quite different from my couple feet of snow. So glad that you're here. And I'm just making sure I don't miss anyone. I'm going to be a little slow through this section, just making sure that I don't leave anybody else. And here's Shawnee giving a little bit of advice here. The best crops to test if straw bale is contaminated with persistent herbicides like aminopyralids or chloropyralids, that's new to me, are beans and peas. The legumes are highly sensitive to these chemicals. Ah, great. Thanks for that advice. I'd heard of peas and I thought of I thought of, I was trying to think of another crop that would be like fast growing so that it would show the results really quickly. So you're correcting me and saying it should be beans and peas. So that's great. Hopefully everything is all well. But I'm going to be sure, because I've certainly seen other garden channels have problems when they do that. And here's Shawnee again saying, you guys, I found my mung bean seeds. Yay! Sprouts are starting soon. My microgreens are Swiss chard, dill, and cilantro. I have a secret surprise crop to microgreen this spring. It's a secret. So yeah, I'm helping you with that secret by broadcasting it all over the internet. But I do miss sprouting. That was really something I used to really enjoy. And there's so much information coming out through both Bowtie and Dave, and we so appreciate all the efforts they're making. Here's Robin saying, I'm so sorry I'm tardy to the party. Hello from Chicagoland with a chilly 25 Fahrenheit minus 3.8 Celsius with sun in and out. Yes. Well, I'm glad that you're here. And I'm just going to make sure I don't miss anybody else. And here is, a challenging name here. Nope, 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 I think it is, perhaps. Hi, everyone. Came out here in sunny Las Vegas. Great. And we've got Blue Wolf, 5925. Rainy here in Mount Shasta. I have an indoor room full of starts, hundreds of onions, and things like African basil going on strong. Wow, that sounds great. And let's see if there's anybody else. I'm glad everybody's greeting each other, supporting each other with information. So much going on here. Here's Paul from Guten Gardening. Glad to see you here. Hey, Paul. Paul is actually going to be doing, he's created a segment for us, and I will be playing that a little bit later in the show. And I'm glad that Paul is here. Handy that he might be available in the comments in case any of you have questions about the segment that he created for us. Let's see, who else is here? And here's John Jude commenting about, thanks about sensitive peas and beans. I'm planning to raise melons in old straw bales. Yeah, the source I got was Halloween decor straw bales that they were looking at dumping into a dumpster. So I basically salvaged them. But where I have them stored, it would be better if I got them in use in a few months rather than continuing in storage. So I need to figure out my next steps. But I'm not going to take any step to apply them to my garden soil with these unknown garden, unknown straw bales onto my garden until I am sure that they are safe. And I think that's about it. If there's anybody else that I've missed, I truly apologize for having missed you, but I appreciate all of you that are here. Okay. So, I'm just going to, there we go. So, I so appreciate all of you for being here today. As I'd mentioned earlier, we're going to have a segment with Guten Gardening, and what I'm going to do is play that now, and then we're going to continue on with other elements of our show. So, thanks to all of you for being here, and please enjoy this segment from Guten Gardening. Called, the segment is In the Garden.
Hello, Let's Get Growing community. Today's video is inspired from my recent appearance on the Green Room this past Monday. During our conversation, we had a lightning round segment, and one of the questions I was asked was what my favorite garden tool is. And I said, right here, my hands. But that got me thinking about some of the other garden tools that are very valuable to us, and I thought I would go back and show you a video where we talk about some of our favorite garden tools. What I'd love is if during this video, during this segment, you're down there in the comments laying out some of your favorite tools, ones that you think you couldn't live without. Today is a video where we focus in on some of the tools that we have found over the years have made gardening much easier for us. And I want to say this at the beginning of the video: if you come up with a tool that's not on our list, one that you have a lot of experience with that you think makes gardening easier, go ahead and let us know what it is in the comments. That way our community can read about your experiences. Now, today's video is focused solely on tools that we own, that we use on a regular basis in our garden, both indoors and outdoors in some cases. But these are going to be tools that we think are not only going to make gardening easier, but really make it more enjoyable. Now I'm going to get right into this video, and you're going to see the rationale behind these tools pretty quickly, I think. The first tool that I'm going to focus in is one of my personal favorites, one that saved us from a whole bunch of mess, and that is our portable tabletop potting tray. And we've had this tray for about 5 years, and it has been nothing but helpful, especially with our indoor gardening, but also with our outdoor gardening as well. We use this tray to mix small amounts of potting mix. We use this tray whenever we're planting our seeds for the first time. We use this tray during transplanting as well. And this particular tray makes it super easy indoors when you don't want to make a mess, but you know potting, repotting, transplanting, you know that can be a messy procedure. It keeps us from making a mess all over the place because cleaning up soil, now granted, in our growing space indoors, our floor is concrete, and so it's not the hardest to clean up, but we can use this in an area in our upstairs area if we wanted to. We'd have to be a little bit careful, but we wouldn't have to worry about making a mess in a carpet, etc. This is an incredibly useful tool. It's very lightweight. It is portable. That's in the name. Port means carry, so you can carry it around. So we can use this wherever we need it, indoors, outdoors, etc. And as I was looking online to find our exact model, one of the things that I noticed was that they also now have them in mat form that are collapsible, so it's not even the hard plastic. It makes it a little bit easier probably for storage and even moving it around, maybe a little bit bigger space. So I'm going to show you both of those right now, but I'm going to focus in on the fact that we have the plastic one. They're inexpensive, and you have the opportunity then to make a far smaller mess than you otherwise might. So that's our first tool that makes gardening much easier. All right, the next item on our list is one that actually costs a little bit more, and it comes in a variety of shapes and sizes, but it can be incredibly useful, and that is our soil blockers. And we have a couple of different soil blockers. I've done a video in the past where I've shown you how we make the soil blocks, etc. So I'll put some of the footage of that in here as well. But the soil blockers are a great way if you don't want to spend money every single season on new pots, if you don't want the challenge, I guess is a good way of putting it, the challenge that can happen when you're transplanting and you're having to be very careful with the roots, etc. of the plant, making sure if you get something root bound, you're essentially removing that problem because the roots themselves will air prune, which means that they won't have that same balled up effect. And it just makes that transplantation process easier as well. All you have to do is to take that soil block and put it into whatever pot, container, raised bed, in-ground, what have you. There's a lot less stress on the plant that way. And so we would argue that the soil blockers can be incredibly useful and make the transplantation process much easier. I will have to admit, it takes a little bit of getting used to making really good soil blocks, but it's not that hard, and that challenge is far less than some of the other challenges when it comes to transplantation, etc. So that's why a soil blocker is second on our list. Now, I've been talking a good bit about seeds and seedlings, etc. And so I'm going to move on to our third item, and this might be the most controversial because I've done videos on this item before, and sometimes people think it looks amazing. Sometimes people have their own tricks to do this. What I'm going to say is that this tool has been incredibly useful for us when it comes to planting, and that is the seeding square. That seeding square, it's a 12 by 12 inch tool that enables you to be precise in an easy way, in my opinion, when it comes to planting your fruits and vegetables. It's a tool that comes with a guide to talk about spacing of your plants and a little tiny orange scoop that enables you to drop the seed or seeds that you need in each of the holes at an appropriate distance or spacing between each of the other plants. Now, this tool has saved us wasting seeds in the past. It's made us be a little more precise. It does, in some cases, perhaps take a little bit longer to plant seeds using this method. And you might think to yourself, well, that doesn't sound easier. But the thing is, just because it takes a little bit longer in the intro doesn't mean it doesn't save time in the long run. We do less thinning as a result of using the seed square. We can be more precise. For those of you that have a smaller garden like we do, a smaller space to garden in, and you do things like square foot gardening, this can be an incredibly useful, and I would argue relatively inexpensive tool in order to give you a better chance at planting an optimal amount of vegetables in a given space. It's a tool, I think it's probably the tool that we've had the longest out of all of the tools that I'm going to mention here, and we use it every single season. And so that's something to keep in mind, I would argue. Again, there's going to be links to all of this in the description. If you've never seen or tried the seeding square before, we highly recommend this as a tool to make your planting just a little bit easier. Now, a lot of times in lists like this, I would argue that maybe we're saving some of the best for last, or maybe we're putting the ones that are the best at the beginning, but that's not actually how this list works at all, in my opinion. Each of these tools brings their own benefit for their own reasons. And so it's not like I'm saving any or doing this in any particular order based on my favorites, except I will say that as I get older, one aspect of gardening becomes a little bit more challenging. And that is, while I'm gardening, I'm constantly bent over, if it's picking weeds, if it's planting outdoors, or I'm kneeling down when it comes to harvesting, etc. And I don't have the knees of a young person. And so I will say that this next item, which is a garden kneeler and bench, has been one of my favorite items that we've had in the garden for a long time. And I actually got this as a present for Mother's Day for my wife. And I think she said to me at one point that this was the most useful thing that I had gotten her. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but a garden kneeler and bench gives you some options. It gives you the options of sitting on the bench whenever you need a space just above the ground. If you're working, let's say you have the portable soil tray on your lap and you're sitting on the bench and you're doing work, that's fantastic. On the flip side of this, and there are plenty of different designs, but on the flip side of the one we have, it has a nice foamy place for you to kneel so that it doesn't wreck your knees when you're outside working in the garden. Again, I find gardening to be incredibly cathartic, but there are those challenges that can be made easier when you have something simple like this bench. And adding a layer of foam underneath your knees can be an absolute game changer, and that's why this tool made it on our list. And now, I saved the fifth tool for last because it's actually the tool that we've had the least amount of time, but it's one that I discovered 3 years ago at our community garden. The first season that we opened up our community garden, I saw this stirrup hoe. It was the first time I had ever really used a stirrup hoe. I'd seen it like in commercials or what have you, probably years ago, but the first time I had ever used a stirrup hoe, and for those of you that don't know what it is, you can see it on the screen in front of you. But the stirrup hoe we bought last season, it's something I had wanted. I decided finally I'm going to spend the money, I'm going to get this thing. And let me tell you, that is a game changer. We got one with a long enough handle so I'm not bent over the whole time. You know, they have different handles depending on how tall you are. But the stirrup hoe is unique, in my opinion, in that as you're using it in the garden, you're not raking up or pulling up large amounts of soil with you. And that's one of the challenges, I think, when it comes to weeding. If you're using a hoe to weed, is that if you're not careful, you could end up displacing a whole bunch of soil. But with the stirrup hoe, it's so much easier. You're pulling off that top layer, a little bit of the mix, but then you're leaving behind the majority of the soil. And that makes it so much easier to get out, work around what you have growing without exposing roots, etc. It's not a problem for the main plants that we're working around. And it's actually pretty easy to work through rows as well, in my opinion. It is, and I've used a lot of different types of gardening hoes, but this is my favorite one. It serves a specific purpose. It's not something that you'd use to make rows with. That's a different kind of gardening hoe. But it is, for weeding purposes, helpful for those of you who can't sit down and do the weeding by hand, or you have too big a space to do that. By the way, I do love weeding, especially if I have something to kneel down on. I love weeding by hand, but this stirrup hoe makes a huge difference. Well, there they are. That's such a simple list, but 5 items that we have used extensively that we would argue make gardening so much easier. And again, we can say that from experience. Now, there are plenty of other tools that we have used that I could have put on this list for sure. I have no doubt about that. I mean, the fact that we've used pH meters, soil moisture meters, we've used, well, I could go down this list for too long, but I picked the 5 that I picked, and this is where you come in. We would love to hear from you. What tools did we leave off this list? What tools should we have added? Well, there you go. There are a couple of our favorite tools from the garden. Again, what are your thoughts out there? What are your favorite tools, the go-tos, the ones that you're so glad that you invested a little bit of money in? Let us know, and we look forward to seeing you again next month.
Ivory Organic was founded on the gardening concept of whitewashing, simply lightening your plants to better tolerate weather extremes, transplant shock, and so much more. Such a valuable gardening practice that farmers have been doing it since BC times. However, in recent years, most research has been caring for plants and trees using latex and tar-based products which are designed to last 100 years but fall off your plants within 1 to 2 years as your plants grow, contaminating your garden soil indefinitely. Available in colors white or more natural looking colors such as brown, green, gray, and grayish. Ivory Organic has 2 general categories of whitewash products. The 3-in-1 Plant Guard, which includes 7 natural oils including castor, cinnamon, clove, garlic, peppermint, rosemary, and spearmint, which offer insect and rodent repellent protection, and the whitewash oil-free formula. Both products also have diatomaceous earth in the base ingredients, which naturally offer some insect repellent protection too. As always, keep growing with Ivory Organics, and wishing you all happy gardening. Ivory Organic was founded on the gardening concept of whitewashing.
Hey everybody, sorry for that slight technical problem. As you can see, I'm a little bit rusty. It's been a little while since I've done a full show. I just want to highlight some of the things that were mentioned in the comments as we did Paul's segment. And there was so many great points of discussion throughout that time period. Paul brought up a lot of interesting things. Bowtie Life, David saying he needs that bag of perlite, something fierce. And Kat's Tiny Wannabe Homestead saying she loves that tray. Gardening with Cherie, hey, glad to see you here, saying that she also likes that tray. some commentary regarding my discussion earlier about the broadleaf herbicides, and Blue Wolf 95925 is also mentioning a little bit about how they feel about the broadleaf herbicides, and it's a reason to be cautious and it's a reason to test. So you're also mentioning it. Hey to JT Jr. Grows It Alaska, and glad to see you here. And some advice here. Kevin is talking about how he uses a 24-inch concrete mixing tray. So I guess what I'm trying to say is there are so many great things coming out of that. Shawnee Grows is talking about the soil blocks. So that video, that presentation by Paul from Guten Gardening has brought about a whole lot of conversation and commentary, and we so appreciate both Paul and all of you for your comments that you've made. People talking about concrete mixing trays, people talking about having a collapsible tray and how helpful that is. Here is someone talking about the kneeler bench. This is Robin talking about how those kneeler benches are so useful. She uses 2 of them. Here is someone else using it. That's Bowtie Life mentioning about using them. Shawnee is asking people about the kneeling benches. And here is Heart's Humble Homestead talking about using the kneeler benches as well. So, and one more comment about it. Gardening at Home with Cherie is talking about the kneelers and how she uses them for other purposes. So I just want to say thanks so much to Paul. I did see him here in our comments earlier in the show. And I just want to, say we so value the content that you send us, that you give us, and how it's provoked so much thought and discussion, and how the community's all sharing with each other to tell each other how we can use these tools in various ways. And I so appreciate it. I'm just going to take a couple of minutes to talk about past shows, things that we've had here on the show previously. And on this channel, just a reminder for those of you who are a little late coming in, shortly we'll be having Muddy Puddles Farm, Joe, as our featured guest, and we so appreciate her being here. Just to kind of highlight some past things that we did, Adam Burley, who is a facilitator here on our show, did an in memoriam regarding Elaine Ingham, who did so much regarding the soil food web, and that was yesterday. He did a commentary about her sad passing, but she's done so much to add to the gardening world, and we so appreciate her efforts. Also going on yesterday was our friend MBC here talking about the Northwest Flower and Garden Festival, and he did an excellent live presentation as well as some pre-recorded segments for that show, and it was quite interesting and informative for us. And also we had I have a graphic that's not cooperating. Just one moment. I'm having some technical problems, and I'm just going to figure out what's going on here. So we also had a few days ago, we had Maria Falia, who was with Growing Joy with Maria. She did a presentation for our show. I'm having some technical problems. There we go. So on Monday's show on the Green Room, we had Natalie and Enoch presenting, and we had Guten Gardening, who is Paul, who was our special guest, as well as New Garden Road. So we so appreciate the presentation that they did. And upcoming, we will have... I'm sorry, StreamYard is having some technical problems, so I do apologize. We are going to be having an upcoming show with Gary Pilarczyk, Growing an Edible Landscape. And he will be presenting regarding his book on the next book club. I do apologize for this. StreamYard is having some difficulties right now, and there's not a lot I can do about that. And we will also be having an upcoming show for Things Green and Bowtie Life on the Green Room coming up. There will be other additional shows coming to us. Let's just see. There we go. So this one will be for the following Monday. It will be with Habitual Hobbies and G Mama Grows. And we also are having an upcoming show with Nate Murray, who is Garden Like a Viking. It will be a reciprocal show where Enoch will be a guest on his show on the Saturday. And then Nate Murray will appear on our show. Also upcoming will be our 200th show, and that will have Wendy Fan. So I do apologize that these graphics are being really brief, but we are having some technical problems on the StreamYard side. Hopefully we'll get that worked out. So I would just like to, we are so pleased to present this segment, and we're going to be welcoming to the show Jo from Muddy Puddles Farm, who is excited to share her incredible journey of creating a small holding that lives in harmony with nature. She is all about embracing permaculture principles and has a goal to cultivate wholesome food without the use of harmful chemicals, while also replanting woodlands to revitalize her wildlife habitats. She wants us to join her on her exciting adventure, which promises to be both full of victories and learning moments. So together we can explore some exciting questions. And can she run the small holding sustainably while making an income? Will her chickens and pigs thrive? How about starting a flower farm? And of course, she can't wait to see how her plants grow. She's just starting out as a small channel, but is really hopeful about building community. And we are so appreciative of her being here on the show today. Hopefully you're all ready for your questions, and I'd like to welcome to the stage Jo from Muddy Puddles Farm.
Hello.
Hey.
That was a lovely introduction. Thank you.
I'm so glad you could be here for us today. I am having some technical issues on the StreamYard side, so I'm hoping things are going to smooth out for us, but I am so pleased that you're here with us today.
Yeah, it's lovely to be here.
Right.
It's been a very interesting debate, a conversation in the comments as well. It's been interesting to watch.
Yes, yes. What kinds of things are they saying? Because honestly, I've been focused on my technical
They've mainly been discussing and talking about all the things that you've been talking about. There's been a lot of discussion about the straw bale contamination and the different tools that Paul was talking about, things that they're growing. So, yeah.
Oh, great. Wow. Fantastic. I'm hoping that the StreamYard will play nice with me, but there's a slight chance that we may be going kind of a cappella here and just having a warm, cuddly chat instead of doing a lot of the button clicking and all that kind of thing. The StreamYard is, disagreeing with me today. It's saying...
It does that some days.
Yes. So... For those of you who are in the chat, please start warming up your questions and getting things ready. I would just like to highlight this one is from Robin Gardens. The crowd cheers for Joe. Welcome. Very enthusiastic response there. Fabulous. I'm going to be highlighting some questions. I am so pleased to see so many people enthusiastic. Bowtie is saying he's excited about his tomorrow show. He's provided a link for those of you who are unaware. He is going to be one of our featured guests for tomorrow's show, and we are grateful that he is here with us. So we're here with us today, contributor to the show, facilitator, and now a guest. So all of that is quite good. Yes. So I so appreciate so many of your comments. Yes, Dave, we do see you now. So that's all good. And thank you to both Shawnee and David, who are being super busy with both questions and links. And we so appreciate all of that. And if I miss any of your comments, I am sorry for that. Some of you may have figured out, if you're new to the show, that I'm an amateur. I am actually not a content creator. And we're all doing our best. So that's great. Okay. Do you mind if I just do a little discussion for a moment about that phrase that you mentioned to me that's sort of integral to some of the choices that you
do want to start with just explaining, because some people won't know what it is that I do.
Yes.
Just a little bit about the farm, and then is that all right?
Okay, go ahead.
So I'm based in Cornwall, which is in the UK, the far southwest. We have a warmer climate than most of the UK because we're so close to the sea, and we're actually in a zone 10 growing zone. And I have a little 9-acre small holding. And on that, the idea is design a growing system which feeds myself and my family. And also, as Jay's already alluded to, also creates an income as well. I'm currently studying for my permaculture design course certificate. And I've been working on the small holding for almost a year now. April last year, 2025, it started, and it's been quite a year of surprises, I think.
Okay.
So it's a mixed site where I have 2 acres of woodland at the bottom that I planted. I have an annual vegetable plot which will be starting up soon, and a perennial food forest area I'm developing. And there are animals as well integrated into the system. That's me.
Oh, well, thank you so much for introducing yourself properly. I am sorry I left that part out. As I've said just a few minutes ago, I'm an amateur at this, and you would think that would be an integral part, but yes, I did not see that. So I'm just going to encourage people to join in the conversation. That I'm going to have you drop your questions or comments in the chat, and we will feature them if we're able. The best way to get your questions or comments well seen is to put them in all caps, because there is an absolute tsunami of information happening within the chat, and we so appreciate the community for that. But I have to sort of filter and kind of go through that of how you're helping each other, separate from questions I may have for our guest. So in our discussion, when we were talking a little bit earlier today, you mentioned the concept of polyculture planting. And I just want to kind of highlight that, because that sort of encompasses a lot of your decision making and some of the research and life experience and stuff that you've had in gardening. So I'm just going to read off the little bit of research that I did about polyculture, just to kind of encapsulate it for people. And then we can kind of have some discussions go off that. So polyculture planting is an agricultural and gardening style that grows multiple complementary species together in the same space, mimicking the natural ecosystems to maximize biodiversity. productivity, and soil health. So unlike monoculture, this method uses intercropping, companion planting, and layered successive planting to reduce pests, improve nutrient cycling, and provide a higher yield in small spaces. And part of the reason I wanted to read that out is when I asked Jo if she had any particular concepts or questions or topics that she wanted to discuss today, she mentioned that title. And if I had a stressful situation to try and say, quickly, tell me what polyculture is, I wouldn't have been able to come up with it. So I just wanted to, since I didn't know, I thought I would, provide that information for those in our audience, because it's something that's pretty important to Jo.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to dump work on you. I guess most people have heard of polycultures in one way or another. A lot of people have heard of the Three Sisters method of planting, and that is a type of polyculture with just 3 different crops, with your corn and your beans and your squash. But it can include so many more things. Some of the photos I sent you include polycultures, which is what made me think to talk about it. I like to always incorporate green manure or a cover crop under most things I sow. And my favorite one is by far Phacelia, because it is such an attractor of pollinating and beneficial insects and wildlife. And I've used it also to hide my sweet corn. So I've used it multiple times, where if I plant the corn first and then as soon as it starts shooting, I plant Phacelia, the corn outgrows the Phacelia. And I've never had a rat or a badger or anything take my corn. And on my allotment I used to have, all around me, all my plot neighbours lost all their sweet corn. So that's kind of one of the benefits. I quite often sow with things like clovers. As long as it's something that's going to grow above the height of the clover, then that's brilliant. That's constantly feeding your other crops that are growing alongside and amongst. So you can get a lot more yield from that crop as well. Just some of the ideas that I have. And I'm kind of going all out now with the forest garden. So the tree canopy will be fruit trees. And then I have all sorts of shrub type bushes, the black currants and raspberries and things. And then we're going down lower with the ground cover, strawberries and different herbs. So it'll be all out polyculture.
Yes, and Shawnee is supporting what you were saying by providing information about the different type of cover crops. She's talking now about surrounding a fruit tree with beneficial community of plants, such as daffodils to repel the deer or the voles, comfrey for nutrient cycling, and nasturtiums to attract beneficial insects. So I almost feel like we're doing an elaborate dance together, where I'm sort of provoking some questions, you're bringing out some concept, and we've got our support dancers at the background providing all kinds of information, so that we're creating a beautiful harmony of amazing information for all of you, whether you're live or whether you're going to be here in the replay. And I so appreciate the support that we're getting from people in the questions and in the comments. So here is that. I'm going to go to some questions from the audience, if that's okay. And the first one is from Bowtie Life, who is David. And he has a question for Jo. When the lambs damaged your trees, what helped you keep going instead of giving up?
Oh, I didn't show it on camera, but there were real tears. There were real tears of frustration. I had put the fruit trees in, 2 or 3 years before we moved, because I owned the land before we moved. And they were just getting to the point where this year, or last autumn, I would have had some fruit. And that's quite a long wait. And some of them were chewed right down to the ground. And I did. I sat and cried for a while, I'll be honest. And yes. It's one of those things you have to then make a choice about whether you give up or pity yourself, or whether you go forwards, best foot forwards. And my thought was, okay, that didn't work. I can now design it. I can have the opportunity to design it better, because I did what I thought was best, but actually over 2 or 3 years of the fruit trees growing, I was able to kind of see maybe that apple wasn't quite in the right place, or maybe it would have been better spacing them differently or grouping them differently. So it also gave me a chance to go shopping again for more trees. And some of the things have recovered. I've been really surprised. I've got a bud on my poor fig tree, Miss Figgy. Mm-hmm. The quince has recovered. There are a few I think haven't. And my apple tree was eaten down to this far above the ground.
Oh,
the whole trunk, the whole thing, and it's put a little sprout out the side, which has taken over as a leader. And I did not know that an apple tree could do that, because basically it's been coppiced by lambs. So I'm really excited to see if that one recovers too.
Sean the gardener is saying horses ate my camellia bush and it came back twice as big the next 2 years. So that's an optimistic point of view that could happen when disaster falls with animals and plants and how well they're working out. I just wanted to say hi to Brampton Gardener. Haven't seen you around here for a while, so it's good to see you here again. I am doing the takeover of Enoch Show. So that's kind of what's happening today. And I have as my guest, for those of you that are a little later in the show, today we are talking to Joe from Muddy Puddles Farm. And here's another commentary. Never give up. It's the end otherwise. That's Sean again mentioning that. So yes. Just slightly off topic, but just something that it reminded me of. I can't remember who, but I was talking to someone who is not from my area. It may even have been you, talking about how much effort I'm spending with the snow shoveling here and how puzzling it can be for other people. And I was talking about how many feet of snow that we have. Relatively speaking, it varies throughout our terrain, but it's 3 to basically 4 to 5 feet of snow, and can be 12 feet or more in the piles. And someone was saying, oh, that's such a terrible climate. I don't know if I could live with that. Like, what would that be like? And I guess the point is, you can be really angry about when terrible things or discouraging things are going on in your environment, whether it's gardening or whether it's the climate that I'm talking about with snow. Or you can say, this is the reality. It's like, am I going to be angry at the wind? Am I going to be angry at the texture of my soil? Am I going to be angry about the rain? Am I going to be angry about the snow? And that much hostility to hold in me is just not worthwhile. So I try to make friends with, you might say, some of the negative aspects of my climate. And of course, we're talking about gardening and saying, okay, what can I learn from this? Some bad things happen, but what can I learn from that? How can I move on? And in Sean's case, he actually said it got chewed down, but then came back even better than ever before. So, gardening, unfortunately, will mean some loss and some lessons, and what you learn from it will end up being character building exercises. And maybe you can share some of the negative things with other people so that they can learn to prevent those things happening, or learn how to adapt when bad things happen. So, I'm trying to have, I'm more of a pragmatist than an optimist, but I say every day that I get up and do things, one of my points of view is about 30% of everything will go wrong. 30% will just go wrong. So when a few things go wrong, I just go, oh, that's the day. That's just what happens in a day, because I'm, contributing and interacting with stuff. And I don't bother getting upset unless it gets to be a lot of things going wrong, because having a busy life means that some things will go wrong. So
yeah. And again, if things don't get wrong, you don't learn anything. when people go, are you disappointed when things go wrong? Briefly, but then you learn from it. It's just like if you know how to grow carrots and you grow them well every year, then you don't learn anything, you just grow carrots. Whereas if one year you get a pest or something and you don't grow carrots, you learn something new because you go and find out what caused it. So things going wrong are a lesson.
Yes. So I'm going to ask a question. What inspired you to start Muddy Puddles Farm on YouTube?
I think part of it was to keep a record, but the other part of that was I have quite a few children, and some of them were traveling, and it was nice for them to be able to see what I was doing as well. And I like to try new things. I like to test myself. I don't know if anyone's noticed. I tend to bite off big chunks of things. I don't ever do a little thing. I tend to do a big thing. So that was really the thought. It was so, friends and relatives, if they wanted to, could see what was happening, what I was doing, how the farm was being developed. And also a little bit of the thought was, because I'm naive and hadn't appreciated how global YouTube is, that local people would be, oh, that's interesting. Somebody started a farm. Oh, I'll look at Muddy Puddles on the internet, and they'd find my little channel and they would become customers. But very few of my viewers are local to me. I have Sean, who's watching tonight, and a few others. But most people are from all over the globe.
There's someone actually, Bowtie Life is saying, keeping a record of why I started my channel is the biggest and only reason, my garden journal. For him, he found it was the best way for record keeping. And you'll notice if you go to his channel that he keeps some timestamps that are quite detailed compared to most people, and so that he can find information about his show, about his plants through his shows. So it's his method. And I just want to say hey to Frank Libera. Sorry if I mispronounced your name, but I am so glad that you are here with us today. And here's Brampton Gardner going, wait, your family actually watches your YouTube channel? Ha, ha, ha. Yes. I've actually had similar struggles. We were chatting a little bit, and I do a lot of what my partner views as the garden blather. All right. And he is so grateful that I've made online garden friends so that he doesn't have to hear so much about it. He is minimally involved in anything to do with gardening. And even when I've done these hosting things, I've let some of my local friends, and even some of them being gardeners, know that the kinds of things that I'm trying to do to help build gardening community and present information. And they're like, yeah, not interested. No. So literally, locally, pretty much unknown. And I used to let it bother my ego. And then I kind of went, just get over it. Move on with things. You know what I mean? There's people who are interested and there's people who's not. You'll find your people, and we have. And I am so glad that our community is building and growing. In fact, for those of you who are unaware, Jo has actually been moving through phases of getting more and more comfortable with an online presence. And she has kind of worked her way through our community show to eventually become a guest on other channels and this channel, and is doing live streams on her channel. So for those of you who are a little uncomfortable with the live format or a little bit shy, we're not pushing you into anything, but part of the reason that we do this is to try and have community and help build you as an individual and in your gardening skills over time. And Jo, in fact, I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think even the first community show, I'm not sure you were in the show. I think you just joined us after, like around Christmas, to kind of hang out with us.
I was, but I learned a lot because I thought I'd set up my ring light and all my devices, and I was so dark, I could hardly see myself. And I was like, oh, I'm live now. I can't do anything about it. So since then, a lot of the equipment has changed. So I was only on very briefly. But yes.
Yes.
Sorry, I've just... Dave just put something up in capital letters and it just caught my eye. Sorry. So I've learned a lot, and it's given me a lot of confidence. There's a very different phase from recording a video and looking through it before you put it out for the world to see, and just going live and going, well, if it goes wrong, it's just going to be there. And yes, the community show was brilliant. It really eased me in, and it wasn't my best effort the first time.
Nope.
But you get better.
We don't expect it to be.
You practice, you'll grow.
Yep. We don't expect perfection. We don't expect, content creators that are comfortable and used to live streams. We may get some of that, but what we're trying to do is get people from our community to get a little bit more comfortable with the format. And if they're terribly uncomfortable, maybe it's going to be a very short interview, and then they move on in whatever way they want to. But we wanted to provide that opportunity for people to potentially get baby steps towards creating new content. And you've absolutely done that. And she does live streams on her channel now every week. She's had several, including having a guest. And
I did.
She's getting a little bit used to some of the button pushing type stuff that I've talked about. And there's more to that than you would think. So, and that was Bowtie Dave just talking about how his partner doesn't really watch his content either. How did you choose the name Muddy Puddles for your farm?
It was very clear. It took quite a long time to acquire this piece of land. Lots of time saving and looking and bidding on land that we didn't get. And when it became our land, we went to look at it. It was the autumn in Cornwall, so obviously it was raining, and everywhere there were just puddles everywhere. We had a borehole put in. Hi, Stella. We had a borehole put in that winter, and so we had the equipment coming in the main gate, and it was just all churned up. It was just mud and puddles everywhere. It was just like, this farm is just Muddy Puddles. And my husband went, oh, that's a good name. And it's stuck from there. But most of the work I did before we moved here was all about managing the excess water and the water on the land that puddles, and the land, the water that flows over the land too quickly. So that's been one of the biggest jobs that I've done. And for the most part, except for this winter, it's not so muddy anymore.
Oh, great.
Which is good.
Did you have to do some kind of invasive tiling or anything to try and kind of deal with the water, or?
No. So with the permaculture ethics, it's to hold the water on the land as much as you can. Okay. And with the clay and it being quite compacted, because it's been a cow field since the early 1900s, and with overgrazing and very large animals and tractors on it all the time, the ground was quite compacted, and the grass roots only went down an inch or two. So there was nothing but compacted clay underneath that. So the first thing I did was identify the bottom of the slope had a lot of water running over, sheeting over the surface, just like a really wide river that's as wide as a field, just running down into the ditch. So the first thing I did was put the woodland in there. And the Woodland Trust were brilliant. They came out and helped me survey and sent me a whole 1,300 trees.
Wow.
So 450 of them are oak, but there are also hundreds of willow and alder, which really do well with the wet ground. And the idea is by getting the tree roots down into the ground, it allows the water to filter down through and refill the aquifers rather than just running off the land. So that portion of the land is pretty set. that's pretty good that I don't get the water runoff over that area of land anymore. And it's restored the woodland that was taken out in the 1980s, because that was all cut down and felled at that point. And it connects up to the other side of the valley. So there's a valley this side, and then my side comes down, and they meet in the middle. So my side now is mirroring the tree species on the other side. So it's a woodland corridor. So that then means that all the wildlife that's using those trees, that established forest that's been there for 100 plus years, can now migrate across and have a larger area to live and forage and explore. So it's multi-purpose. So it's restoring the woodland that was taken out. It's a wildlife habitat, and it's also helping that rainwater to penetrate into the soil.
So that
Sorry.
leads excellently into a question that Adam was asking: is what's your favorite permaculture techniques for managing water runoff? So you're basically explaining that right now. Yes.
Yeah. The other thing I've put in my permaculture forest garden area, there's a bottom swell and a top swell, and they run southwest to northeast diagonally because they follow the contour of the land. And so the water will run down into that ditch, and then it will penetrate in there. And then on the other side of the ditch, there's a berm, and then I plant along there. So yeah, swales and ditches. That's right, Stella. So the swale ditch will fill up with water about an inch or two, and then over with the weather we've had, it takes a whole day for it to filter through, but usually it takes about half an hour after the rain stopped, and that will filter in through, and then the water will travel under the ground really slowly before it tracks off the land. I am having trouble at the moment because it's been much wetter than it usually is. The area where the pigs are has got too compacted, and I do have a lot of puddles there. Wherever the pigs have been this winter, it's really wet. So when I move them in the spring, I will have to reseed that whole area and restore it. It's a little bit sad. But another lesson learned.
Yes,
So.
yes. John Jude is saying, I've added trees and bushes and don't have standing water, but my neighbors claim it used to flood during heavy rains. So he's talking about, different ways you can restore the land and deal with serious problems. I've mostly lived fairly urban, although I live now in a tiny home community rurally. And I've used different small trees and bushes to great effect to kind of secure privacy, deal with some of the noise and issues of being in a small space and people passing by pretty quickly, to kind of move them along, have a little bit of privacy, but also I'm using some of those and more to basically create a small, as close to wildlife refuge as I can that will not cause problems for my neighbors, and utilizing some of those things without having studied permaculture. I'm trying to, in my own way, within fairly small space living, create a way that nature and I can live as close together as possible and create a little bit of a refuge, even though, like I say, very small and kind of what most people would consider to be a tiny lot. But it cheers me up every time I see an element of nature that is not harmful coming in and choosing to hang out in my space for a shorter or longer period of time, because I feel like I'm helping restore some of what's taken away by most urban living. And it's a little piece of the puzzle in my mind, Yeah. So let's see. So many good questions here in the comments. Let's go to another one. And David has spent quite a lot of effort researching all kinds of great questions for us, and we so appreciate it. And for right now, we're going to deal with some of David's and some of other people's. Robin has a question. What barter items have you secured for the upcoming challenge to eat 100% from your land? So that was leading us to the next question I had, which is to tell us more about your sustainability experiment. And Robin's getting quite specific.
Yes, so I have secured swapping eggs for milk, as a lot of people know, and I'm experimenting with making my own cheese, which we might or might not get to later. I'm exchanging some of the meat that I harvested last year for honey, and I haven't really gone much further than that. I'm in a bit of a dilemma. The one thing I would really like to swap, there is a tea farm in Cornwall. It's a place called Tregothon Estate. And they grow the tea locally, but they blend it with Indian tea.
Okay.
From India. And I'm like, do I see if they will give me just the stuff they grow?
Yes.
Or would that get complicated? Or do I kind of go, well, it's mostly local, so I've not gone there yet. I'm still considering whether it's too much of a cheat for me.
So I've kind of jumped into specifics there with Robin's questions, but maybe we should back it up a little bit for those of you who are unaware. Can you explain a little bit for us? What is the sustainability challenge? What is it that's happening?
So thanks to Dave and him sending me a wonderful email and pointing out that I haven't given this challenge a title or a hashtag. It's pleased to announce for the first time ever on the show tonight, it's going to be 1 year, 1 challenge will be the hashtag and the title, and it's surviving on homegrown and bartered food, ultimate self-sufficiency experiment. So that will be the title, and the hashtag is 1 year, 1 challenge. So I'm seeing if it's possible for 1 year to only consume, so for food and drinking, things that I've either grown or harvested from my land. And I'm very thankful that includes meat and eggs. Otherwise, it would be, I think, a horrible year.
Yes.
And for things I've bartered, but I can only barter for things that have been produced locally. So, I couldn't, for instance, send somebody to the shop to buy me something and then give them some eggs. That would defeat the object. So it has to be from a local producer that has produced something in a reasonable space and swap it for something I can give them that produced from my land. Although Pete from down the road swapped some carrots for some help putting up a stable. So
good.
And which
way did that go? Who did the stable and who did the carrots?
I baked him a cake.
Okay.
And I turned up at the stable and I filmed for him. I did carry a few things. I did pass tools, but there were actually quite a few strapping young men there that did the heavy stuff. And as I was going, I was chatting to his wife about how the channel was going and the self-sufficiency thing. She went, "Oh, we've been here helping all day. I think that deserves some carrots." And I felt really bad because I'm sure Pete had a video that he was going to update everybody on his autumn sown carrots over winter carrots, but she gave them to me. So I was like, I don't think I'm supposed to have these carrots. And she's, too late now. They're up the ground. Off you go.
Oh, the perils of trying to decide, how much to film and how much to work in the garden and what to keep. And yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So much going on. So that sounds like a very interesting challenge. How did you come up with this concept of doing such a thing? Like, were you influenced by somebody else, or you started actually doing it and just thought, how far can I take this?
Yeah, there were lots of influences. I think the whole survival culture and the storing food and the whole Armageddon's coming and be self-sufficient. There are extremes. There's some people. So Mark from Self-Sufficient Me talks about don't have to be self-sufficient in everything. Try and be self-sufficient in one thing. There are lots of people who are very, save yourself some money and have a go at some things here. And then there are some people that tell you need to have 10 years of food stored in your basement and oxygen eaters and Mylar bags and a bomb shelter too. And I think this is an experiment in what can you achieve truly in self-sufficiency, but also I think to highlight how necessary it is to have community, flexibility, and that you actually can't do it on your own.
Okay.
I am going to have to barter to be able to make it through the year, or I will get very thin and poorly, I'm sure. And I am going to have to work really hard. It's going to be quite time consuming. I might not make it. I might have some times where I've gone, right, guys, this is the honest truth. This month I didn't have enough food, but let's continue. Just to highlight how important and how interconnected we all are, and how reliant on each other and community we really truly are. And even if I could produce everything I consumed on the farm, it still doesn't make me self-sufficient. There are things like the amount of skills. I'm not a carpenter. I can't weave my own cloth. I need clothes. If any of my animals get sick, I'm not qualified to treat them. Simple ailments I can, but I need to be able to call a vet. So it's highlighting this huge web of community and wholeness that we need. It's bringing everybody together, I think, and maybe a more balanced view on the whole survival outlook that people have.
Okay. Do you mind if I go to some of the pictures that you provided now?
Absolutely.
Time is ticking by so fast. So many excellent questions from the audience and stuff. I have to click and unclick some things, unfortunately. And hopefully I get this right. Let's see. Okay. So I'm just going to start with your pictures in the order in which you provided them. So this one is, oops, sorry. I have a comment sticking up there. Let's see. Okay. So where is this picture from?
So this is my last house. This was actually a herbaceous border is a really good example of a polyculture. So that was at my old house as a side garden. We used to call this a clean garden because the other garden the dogs were allowed in. This one I felt fairly safe to grow food in the herbaceous border. And although it's got all the regular herbaceous things you'd expect, the hollyhocks and the irises and the gladiola and lots of other herbaceous things, and for life of me it happens all the names of the plants have gone out of my head, but also in amongst that there are strawberries as ground cover, and I also grew all my garlic in that bed alongside the herbaceous plants.
So we have another angle here.
So it's the same part of the garden, and so that brick wall faces directly south, and that gets very hot, and that works really, really well for all the types of plants that are in there. On the right-hand side of that garden, there is a plum tree, there is an apple tree, and there is a fig tree. They're very productive. And there is also an alder. Oh, let's go to the next one. This is the back garden through the gate. So this, I did a video a little while ago, which was a slideshow of my old garden. And this is it as it matured. So this was literally the year we left. And as you can see, there's still all those things they're in pots because I haven't decided where to plant them. This is 12 years later.
Okay.
And everything's still in pots because I still haven't decided where to plant them fully. Yes, so
if they're happy in their homes, if they're happy in their little pots, that's fine.
Yep.
And here's your friends.
Yep, my puppies and the decking. So actually the dogs became allergic to grass, and so we had to remove all the grass. So it was really tricky to work out how to have a very green, refreshing space with no grass, but it's entirely possible. Yes, but the veranda and the decking, that was something we put in. Probably the veranda went in the first year we were there, and the decking went in about 18 months before we moved.
Okay, and here's one more.
Yep, so you can see that was in the mornings, the sun's rising in the east. Yes, and that's the border as it's fully matured there. You can't really see it very well, but behind the hammock is the pond, and the border just has really filled out and matured, and is just full of flowers in another month or two.
Okay, great. I'm just going to pause the pictures for a second, and I'm sorry for the faulty borders and stuff, but the skill set I need to be at that is not currently happening. So that's how that goes. So let's just see what other comments we have here. And I'm just going to repeat to all of you that we love your commentary. We're so glad that you're interacting with us and that you may have some questions. Here is a comment, is saying, beautiful garden. I love your bricks. And
I think the interesting thing about that garden, particularly the area with the pond, it's only about 25 feet deep, and the width of the house, and it feels very private. That there's a lot of height in the planting there to create privacy, and there's a lot of plants packed in there. So it was true small space growing.
Yes. Let's see. I'm just going to see if there's any questions that are most relevant to this. I'm going to go with this question right now from Bowtie David, is saying, question for Joe, what unexpected blessing has already come from announcing the challenge?
Oh, goodness me. It would have to be that I've always wanted to make, I know this is silly, I'm so over the moon excited. I've always wanted to make cheese, and it's always seemed so complex and difficult to do. And I just thought, well, I'm going to have to learn. I've made cheese. I can't believe that I've made cheese. And it turns out to be quite simple.
Yes. It's funny, the simplest things that delight you, not you in particular, but delights one. As an example, I chose to make chili the other day, and there's different elements I had that were together, and reaching over to the shelf to take my own tomatoes that I had grown myself, canned myself, put them into the container, and dealt with everything else. So I'm not doing self-sufficiency to the level that you are, but just the satisfaction in knowing that by volume, half of the stuff in that chili was something that I prepared and preserved myself. It's kind of hard to explain for other people, but I'm still delighted a couple of days later. It was just, something about having something that is fully your own, I guess. There we go. Yes. So let's hear about that.
So I'm making cheese. So a usual person, not me, would start making cheese by buying a cheese culture from the internet for either a cheddar or a Gouda or a brie. So they knew what they were getting. Me, I made my own with clabber. And so the first cheese I made turned out as I hoped. I think it's going to be a cheddar type deal, but obviously, as you can see, I haven't had any of that yet, but that's doing quite nicely. The second wheel I made, because that went so well, was huge. And then it turned into a bit of a disaster because it fell apart. So instead of having a wheel of cheese, I've got chunks.
Okay.
And then it turned blue. It's actually blue cheese.
Wow.
So it smells and tastes like blue cheese. It hasn't quite got the veins right through to the center yet, but it will do. But my first thought was, oh no, I think it might be off. But actually, it's really delicious. Nearly dropped a bit. I've been nibbling on bits and pieces of it, and it tastes just like blue cheese.
Okay. Wow. Show, tell, and taste. We've got it all going on in this show today. Yes. I didn't even know about I'd heard the term clabber, but didn't even know what relationship it had to cheese before the video.
So clabber is how people made cheese in the olden days. And cheese still in my mouth. It's culturing the natural bacteria within the milk. So unless you send it to a lab, you won't know what sort of cheese you're going to get until you've made it. Basically, you put milk in a pot for about 5 days until it goes solid, like jelly. And it doesn't go off like shop milk. If you have unfiltered, unprocessed milk, you have the raw milk. It doesn't go off. It doesn't stink. It turns. It's like sour cream, but it's sour milk. Mm-hmm. It's got that kind of tang to it. To start with, it's really a bit too much. And so what you do is take a teaspoon of that once it's done, put it in a jar, another little bit of milk, give it a shake, and you feed it, and it becomes more mild. And then once you're happy with the flavour, you clabber a large batch of milk, and then you can process it into cheese. But I have no culture. I had no culture, and I had no rennet. So I've kind of watched lots of different videos on how people have done it. Nobody's done it with neither. And I thought, I'm going to try. And I did. And I've made cheese. So
fantastic. And I highlighted a few of the comments people have made about how you're making people hungry, and me too. And here's another further question from Dave saying, your cheese experiment required patience. How is delayed gratification part of this challenge? Yeah,
it is, because there's a cheese in there and I have no idea what flavor it's going to be yet because I haven't tried a bit. It's kind of a blessing. The other one fell apart a bit because I'm able to crumble a little bit off and try it. I've actually got another cheese I've just started today. So I've put so it's clabbering as we speak in the saucepan. Tomorrow I'll turn it into the cheese block. I'm trying to use the milk that I'm getting at the moment to make as much cheese as I can ready for when the challenge starts, because it takes a lot of milk to make the cheese. And then once I've done that, some of the cheeses can take up to 3 months to mature. So it's just patience. And I'm imagining all sorts of recipes with them. So I shall really enjoy it when I get to use it. And I think that's the thing. I know how good it will be when I finally get to kind of tuck in. I have a plan in my head for a recipe. I'm going to roast some of my giant squash, and I'm going to mash it, and I'm going to line a pie dish. I'm going to blind bake it for a while to see if I can make something resembling a pie crust, and then I'm going to turn it into a quiche with blue cheese and bacon.
Ooh, you are making us hungry. Back to some of your photographs, and we're going to have to go through those a little bit quickly because our time is escaping from us really quickly.
Oh, no.
So yeah, so here is a picture of some blackberries, I think.
Yes, so these are photos from my hedgerows. So in the autumn in particular, I'm going to really be relying heavily on my hedgerows. So there are quite a few things in my hedgerows, and they are so abundant. So those are haws from the hawthorn.
Okay.
I will have to experiment. Oh, this is I put this picture in because this is a polyculture. So there's a raspberry in there. There's Phacelia in there. Poppies, obviously. Some Queen Anne's lace and some calendula. And you can't quite see it, but on the other side of that, amongst it all, is a blueberry as well. Oh, a blackcurrant, sorry.
Yes.
So these are sloes. and they are lovely in slow gin. You can add them to jellies and jams. They're very tart, but they're also quite high in natural pectins, so they'd be really useful for jam and jelly making. And there's more of them.
Yes, fantastic. I'm sorry, I am going to be having to go through these pictures a little bit quickly for folks and possibly for you because, time is escaping from us. We have had so many great questions and so much great commentary. And now we're going to see
the pigs. So Ava is the spotty one. She's an Oxford Sandy and Black. And then the others are middle white crosses. One of them might be Kevin. I actually had 3 of those. The 2 girls are in the freezer as sausages and chops as we speak.
Having a rest.
Having a rest, yes. But, yes, Kevin's the resident joker.
Okay. And that led to Kevin's name, which is?
Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon.
It was the Bacon family. So we had Smokey and Streaky and Kevin, the Bacon family.
Okay. And here we
Those
go.
are the rascally sheep that ate my orchard. They also went for a little rest in the freezer.
Yes.
Yes. And they have all that amazing grass there, and they weren't interested in that. They wanted to eat trees. It's madness. This is one of my swale berms. So behind that fence is the ditch that I dug where the rainwater runs off. And that's literally at the edge of the forest garden. So I've made this swale full of really robust plants that will hold back all of that meadow grass from creeping in. And so there's a lot of the words escape me. A lot of comfrey. There's things like Jerusalem artichoke. There are also globe artichokes. There are just some really thug plants that I've put in there. There's mint and things that really take over and not allow the meadow to come in and sweep across my forest garden. Okay. And these are my chickens, or some of them. So they are now grown up, but this was back in the summer. These were my second hatch, and the first hatch I did with Australops. But yeah, this was them at the farm growing up. This is my sweet corn, and you can just about make out underneath there that it's all undersown with clover this year. And actually the pumpkin vines are also growing through and around the bottom of those as well, but they're hidden by the clover. And again, there we've got things, carrots and cornflowers, because why not? And that's just another group of just mad polyculture growing together. So we've got chives, Welsh onions, some wild thyme. I think there are strawberries in there too. And maybe sweet Cicely at the back. And of course, the harvests aren't just for me. They're also to feed my animals and reduce my food bill. And what I discovered when I removed the pumpkin vines is actually the chickens will eat all of the leaves and vines as well. So that's a good tip to save some money on feed.
And I'm sorry I'm having to rush through the photos, but
no, it's fine.
Just running through time. We've got just a couple more photos to go.
I think we had that one.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's okay. And this is my sunflower patch. This is what's inspired the idea for the flower farm. I ran out of cover crop mix, so I threw down whatever I could find, which happened to be a kilo of birdseed, and it turned into a patch of sunflowers. And then people kept asking if they could buy them, and I said, yes, of course. So I sold a lot of sunflowers and thought, well, this works out quite well. I shall do more of that next year.
Yes, and I'm going to discuss that in just a minute, but one last picture before we do.
And this is Kevin, the infamous Kevin. If anybody tunes into my channel, they will see Kevin being boisterous and belligerent and just generally silly. He thinks he's a dog. He literally barks, just like a dog.
Okay.
And yes, gets up to general hijinks.
Wow, great. And back to us again. I'm just going to see if I can squeeze in a couple more questions before we're totally out of time here.
Quick fire round.
For those of you who have been asking questions, we are so glad for your interaction, all the questions you've asked, but unfortunately we don't have tons of time. But what we could do is have her again on a future show possibly. But in the meantime, I'm just going to highlight some of the questions. Are those blackberries thornless from Bowtie?
No, long sleeves.
People out.
No, they are wild. The great thing is I don't have to prune them. I don't have to look after them. I don't have to keep them. I just pick them when they are ripe. I do nothing else.
Yes. Almost all of my cane stock is also thorny, and that's kind of on purpose. I live in a small space, and I don't necessarily want people going through and taking my berries, and that does happen with some places and some situations. So I'll just gauntlet myself up and get prepared when it's time. And hey, another new person here in our chat today. And someone commenting about Kevin, saying, Kevin Bacon, I love it. Like the name. And someone saying how gorgeous the sunflowers were. That's Robin. Loving that. Let's just see if there's any other questions I can try to squeeze in before we run out of time here. Let's see. Let's see. Here's one specifically from your neighbor Sean saying, could you surround the trees with fencing like they do in deer parks?
Oh, I could. There is a fence around it, which is the green netting, and deer apparently don't have very good eyesight, and that is supposed to keep them out. And that's fine. The deer don't really go in there. The problem was my sheep are really belligerent, and they would break in anyway. They were inside stock fencing, and they just jumped over it. So yeah, they're going to get in.
Okay, they're more determined. Yes. This is quite off topic, and perhaps this is Joe, or perhaps this is for the chat, but I did want to squeeze this in before we end. This is nope saying, question. I have a Meyer lemon plant that's in a 10-gallon bucket, maybe 8 gallons of soil in there. Is there a good 6-12-4 for a fertilizer for citrus in pots? It's actually a rose fertilizer for humic acid. Most of us here in this discussion tend to be organic growers. So some people use organic fertilizers, but we don't tend to use chemically based fertilizers. It's not a no never for absolutely everyone in the chat, but I'm not informed enough to know about chemical fertilizers to be able to give any good advice.
I'm not good with citrus. I have no indoor growing space, so citrus is not really, doesn't really work here. It's too wet and dense soil. But I tend to use a different types of fertilizer. If I need something with a big nitrogen boost, I'll go chicken. Something in the middle road, I'll go pick. Obviously well rotted. I mix it in with the compost it, and then use it. And something that doesn't need too much nitrogen, I need to amend. I'd probably use something like horse manure, because that's not as nitrogen rich. But that's me. I throw plants in buckets of water and compost and use manure. I don't use a lot else.
Yes, same with me, pretty much. There's a rare exception where I actually buy something, but I try and do it where possible, organic or natural sources. So if there's anybody here in the chat, that question was asked quite some time ago, but it didn't kind of flow with the rest of our discussion. So I wanted to make sure that it did get asked and potentially answered. So if there's anyone in the chat who's got useful information regarding that, that would be fantastic. That's more related than what we currently do. But
Yeah.
I suggest natural and organic sources for the fertilizers if possible.
Nope. I was asked another question about carrots in 10-gallon containers. They're overwintered and putting out new growth. Will they be edible this spring? They will be, as long as they don't bolt. If they start putting up flowers, then they will have a woody core. But if they've not flowered, then they'll be fine. They'll probably be sweeter as well if they've had a bit of cold over the winter.
Yes, I found the same. All the comments that you just made. Yes. Great. I am really sorry, but we are actually out of time. It's unbelievable how the time is just dissipated. I so appreciate all the comments and questions that people have made, both to Joe and to be supportive. I'm just going to throw one more question at you, and then I'm probably going to wrap up the show. So one question is, what's your future plans for Muddy Puddle Farms and the YouTube channel? As you're going to be going through this experiment, what was your hashtag again? It is
1 year, 1 challenge.
1 year, 1 challenge.
And the whole idea of Muddy Puddles Farm is to become a community space. So I've already started my community area. I've built my willow dome, which hopefully will start growing really nicely this spring when it warms up. And I encourage people to come along and see. I've got lots of visits planned. I know Rob's Allotment Gardens is coming to visit again, and Pete Tranelth, who is another YouTuber up the road, is coming to visit. We've got Jenny from the Plot will be coming to visit. I'm hoping that Stella will come and visit and convince her husband to come down and see the farm. But I'm also going to try and open it up to the wider community, people that aren't necessarily farmers or gardeners, and have some open days where people come and either plant a tree or build a bird box or make a bug habitat, so that it will hopefully encourage younger people as well. Encourage people that come to the flower farm for pick your own when they do, to bring a picnic, spend some time, have a look around. But yes.
Great.
It's a space to share.
Fantastic. I'm so pleased that you're talking about gradually doing those steps to open it up to the community in different ways. And as you are growing for us and growing for yourself, you're growing for the community. And I really am so pleased about that. I'd like to thank Joe for being our featured guest today. I so appreciate you being here. I'd like to encourage everybody to check out her YouTube channel and follow her journey as she's doing this challenge. And thank her so much for being our guest today.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
Great. So we're going to be wrapping the show in the next short while. I just want to thank everybody for being here today. Do stick around as I highlight some of the past shows and future shows we'll be doing if StreamYard cooperates with me. I just want to encourage people to like, subscribe, and share to the channel. A reminder that we are on a 3-day gardening weekend, and that means that we are here Saturday and Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific and 2 p.m. Eastern. But we have added on, as of about 4 or 5 weeks ago, the Green Room, which is Mondays at 5 p.m. Pacific and 8 p.m. Eastern. And I would also like to do a quick shout out to Team Replay to thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you, and we'll be having links in the description below for all the good stuff about Joe's channel and how you can do direct donations to support the show with Cash App, Venmo, or PayPal. I'd also like to thank you for, after the stream, potentially leaving a comment for us and letting us know what you've got growing on and making comments to the show. I'd like to thank Joe for being our guest, as well as Paul from Guten Gardening for doing the In the Garden segment. I'm just going to highlight some of the shows that we have had recently. And remind you of one more thing, that is that we are doing snapshots of the week. And for those of you who are looking at contributing a snapshot. Sorry about that. A snapshot that you would be submitting that snapshot to the Urban Gardener at mail.com for snapshots of the week. We would so appreciate seeing some photos of you and your garden of any type at all. And a reminder that we had a show yesterday with the Flower and Garden Festival with MBC, and we so appreciate the time and effort he has made for that. We also had a show with Maria Falia regarding growing with joy. We also had a recent show with Guten Gardening, that is Paul and New Garden Road on the show. And upcoming, we have Gary Pilarczyk, Growing an Edible Landscape, will be coming on to our show. And on tomorrow's show, we will be having Things Green and Bowtie Life, which is David, who's been an excellent support to the show. That will be tomorrow, appearing with Natalie and Enoch on our show. And coming up also the following Monday will be Habitual Hobbies and G Mama Grows. Also, watch out for a couple of upcoming shows. Nate Murray will be appearing, so just watch for those links. And we will also be having our 200th show coming up, which will have Wendy Fan coming. So much going on. We so appreciate all of you for being here with us today. The show has grown because of all of you. And we deeply appreciate all of the efforts that any of you have made to like, share, subscribe, donate funds, people who have become contributors. We just appreciate all of you so much. The show wouldn't be what it is without you. Thank you so much for being with us today. My name is Jay. I am also known as the J-Bot. I am the substitute host for today. Once again, back tomorrow with Enoch, and that will be the Green Room. And we so appreciate all of you for being with us today. I'm going to just close out the show, and thank you for being with us today. Let's just see. Have a great day, everybody, and thanks for being with us, and let's get growing.
Take the run. See you on the flippy flops.